And there's nothing better in life than to have your guest tell you that your overlay has a misspell, so a typo. So thank you, Adam Kolozetti. I don't know how many episodes we've done now with Dallas being misspelled. So sorry, Dallas. All right, guys, are we all ready to kick off the Afterglow Live Recap podcast?
Let's do it.
You betcha.
All right, let's go ahead and break it in, Adam. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Live Afterglow Live Recap Podcast. My name is Syya.
And I'm Erin Gregor.
And we are the co-founders of Innovation Media Enterprises and also the co-chairs of the super cool Dallas, now spelled correctly, chapter of Global Leaders Organization. Today, we are super excited to welcome a new member to the Dallas chapter crew, and that is Adam Kolozetti out of Calgary. He is a co-chair. Adam with Enta Solutions. Welcome to the Afterglow.
Thank you. That was a fantastic intro. I feel very loved.
Oh, well, you are loved for sure, because, as Glow has grown over the years and as we are looking at ways to grow our community, it's really nice to see a new face and love to see your energy. And Enta Solutions, your company is so cool. They're doing so many cool things. And I want to highlight you for a second. So, Adam, tell me, what is Enta Solutions and how did you come about launching this business? Because I think it's a very unique story.
Okay, so Enta Solutions, we like to say we specialize in perpetual epicness. And, what is that? We help small, medium businesses scale, essentially. And we do that in three ways. One is digital lead generation, so your social media strategy and that kind of thing. Second is internal engagement, team building, culture, that stuff. And then finally, your business optimization. So that's kind of your more technical process development, management systems, stuff like that. And we look for really innovative, unique clients. We love working with people that, one, it's purpose through profit, not just profit. So people that want to give back, that are looking to change the world. And two, people that put people first, that really believe that, like in their core, because our style, our way of doing things is very people-centric, very plugging your culture into your business. So, if that's not you, then you wouldn't like us. And then finally, people looking to disrupt, right? We've got a reputation for working with disruptors and changing the game. So yeah, that's Enta Solutions. And, you asked how we started. I'll give you kind of the short version. I'm an aerospace engineer. My co-founder, Caitlin, is a materials engineer. We, come from the engineering world working for big companies. And we came to the realization, we had a project where pipeline construction started in the wrong place. And, it's not funny, but a football-sized area of trees were cleared in the wrong spot.
Oh, wow.
And it was terrible, right?
That's
we kind of looking at what happened, and all it was a tiny little mistake in not the drawing, but the revision of the drawing. So we realized in that moment that in that pressure, right, there's always this pressure to get projects finished, and right, so people like skipped, dock control steps and all that, and they got it out and celebrated. But there's a reason for process steps, and there's risks behind each of those, and each one of those steps is meant to, mitigate some risk that has happened in the past, and now here it manifested in a big terrible way. So we're like, man, like businesses just don't connect these rules, these processes with people. People aren't understanding, because you can skip a step, but understand the risk and find a different way to mitigate it or whatever. So that's kind of how Enta started. And then, so that was kind of the business culture and the optimization piece. And then the digital lead, that really came out of COVID because we had no choice. We got basically obliterated by, the pandemic, like many people, and we had no choice but to go online. And we frankly did a pretty good job of it. And now we teach it, and now it's part of our services. So here we are. That's kind of the fast version story of Enta Solutions.
So I'm curious, Adam, do you find companies usually need all three, or do you find that it's 1 to 2 of the 3?
I find that smaller businesses definitely more on the digital lead generation social media side, right? They need leads first, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not cash flow first, then they'll maybe worry about their culture and their optimization. Businesses a little more established, they survived this long without really a lot of social media. So sometimes that's a harder sell, and they just want help with this specific thing or that specific thing. So it's a mixed bag, I would say.
Gotcha. All right.
So awesome. And hey, Tino out of Houston says hello, everyone. So that's always such a nice
Tino.
thing.
Hey,
Hey,
Tino.
Tino in the house. Okay, so let's talk about today's topic because I have spoken to so many members and prospect members that are looking at seeing the value of what Glow brings to the table. And one of the biggest things I get oftentimes is, look, I'm looking for money. I'm looking for seeding. I'm looking for funding. And for me, I mean, Erin and I, we've been bootstrapping our business, and I never really considered looking at funding before. But Tissa brought up some really interesting points that is making me really think about, okay, our business, we produce podcasts, we've got studios, how else could we scale and look at our organization much more holistically than just simply task at hand, if that makes sense. And I mean, I actually took a lot of notes with Tissa. Did you guys take notes as well?
I took some. I thought there was some interesting. Go ahead, Adam.
I was gonna say I didn't actually write notes. I was watching it while I was working out this morning, but I definitely, yeah, I loved how she was kind of like these three things. Like this is what you need to remember, right? It was very to the point. It was very here's what I learned. Here's what I wish I did, which was awesome.
Yeah, she had a lot of info. A lot of info. Like Joseph was making notes in the Zoom chat, and that's his specialty is raising capital, and he was even saying like this woman she knows what she's talking about, like she's got a lot of great information. So hopefully for those people who are seeking capital, go out and find the replay because she had a lot of really great information. You're on mute, Syya.
Am I still there?
Yeah, you're good.
There you go.
Oh my goodness gracious. I go ahead and mute myself because I've been coughing and then I start talking to myself. It's always fun. I really liked about Tissa was the fact that she was brutally honest. Like she's been through it. You can tell she's got some, I don't say scarring, but she's got some
battle wounds.
And she was very blunt, I think, at times on not maligning investors and how they function, but she was like, look, empower yourself. These people, they've got some funding and maybe they have access to the cash that you're looking for, but empower yourself to know when to pull out or politely say, thanks, it's all good. So I guess that's something I never really thought about before, but that is a common mistake. Do you feel like when you're asking for something that you put yourself in a lesser position because you are the one that's asking for someone or something?
Well, I think it's going to vary on where you are with your business. And, I think it was when we talked to Eternova, she was saying there's that place where you're desperate for money, right? And at that point, you're in a much lesser standpoint. You're going to settle. Let's just put it that way, right? Mm-hmm. You're the woman who's 40 years old trying to have the baby, right? But you're going to settle more. You're just going to do what you need to do to get what you can. And so I think, what she really drove home was, and this is with anything with business, not all money is good money. And so what's it worth to you? Is it worth selling your soul to the devil just to keep the business going? Is that what it's worth? Or is there a way to try to pivot, a way to try to find different money? And she, she had a couple of different stories. I don't want to give them all away, so hopefully somebody will go listen, but just with working with the wrong investor and understanding, like what she was saying, what her style was as a leader, and then bringing in an investor who's a complete 180. Well, again, what's that worth to your business? Is it worth destroying the culture and sending people home?
Yeah, so, but one thing that really struck me was, and you could tell like, she's a very calm personality, like a very just level-headed. And one of the things she just flat out said was, from a culture perspective, she goes, I don't yell.
Right.
We don't yell. And I was like, oh, well, I'm sure we could be friends, but I don't know if I would work with, because I'm not a yeller, but I'm excitable. And I could see what she's saying is like, if you are working with an investor that is over the top and you yourself are a mellow personality, the vision might be there, but maybe the execution is not going to be in line. Maybe the ways aren't going to be like flowing together. And that's, I think it requires high EQ as you're looking at these investors, as these investors are looking at you to figure out, is this something that's going to be good, emotionally?
Well, I like, she's talking about, do some homework, right? You can kind of research them online, maybe talk to somebody that's now in their network. You can try and learn as much as you can, but ultimately until you sit down in that room and meet them, you're not going to know. And to that EQ point, right? Sometimes it's just a gut feel. Like, I don't know. I need the money. Like you said, are you desperate? How desperate are you? Right. And if you're desperate, you might not be ready, right? Like they can smell fear, right? It's like kids. So, yeah, I loved how bold she was and how she said, show up. And if halfway through you realize they're just there to get like a sense of what's going on and they never intended to write a check, then stop. Say, hey, you know what? I can see that this is a waste of our time or whatever. Politely excuse yourself. Like, don't put yourself through the ringer for nothing.
Well, I love the take the power back. I mean, that's really what it was. I mean, there's nothing more, and there's nothing worse, from speaking on a stage perspective, where you're trying to feel that room and grab that room, right? Like, and then imagine, take it to another layer where you're trying to get these people to buy into you, to buy into your company, and you can feel that room just not having it. And to finish that out, like, I love it. Just like take the power back and be like, you know what, this isn't gonna work. I feel you felt it. Let's peace out.
You just reminded me of when you and I first started talking, how tired pre-pandemic you were of networking and going to networking events, because oftentimes you're looking at someone and you could just tell flat out, like, there's nothing going on in this relationship right now. This person's either trying to sell me something or they're trying to get something from me. It's kind of like, that's what I think for me was, as you're talking to these investors, if you can get that vibe, that power you feel at networking events where you're like, hey, nice meeting you, I'm gonna go grab some more shrimp here, and bow yourself out, is to have that ability to trust yourself when you're talking to an investor and be like, you know what, I'm gonna go grab myself some more shrimp. You know what I mean? It's harder said than done. So let's pivot a little bit. Okay, so let's do something more positive in the context of that pitch deck. She started right up from the jump in the conversation talking about that pitch deck, and us as podcast producers, we put together a media kit, right, for our clients, for ourselves, for our own shows, where you want to put a media kit together to say, like, hey, I'm looking for sponsorship, right? And one thing that she had said, which I brought up in another conversation, was make sure in your pitch deck, obviously you're going to have to say what it is and, the market cap and all that good stuff, the numbers and all that. But she said, what problem are you actually solving? And when she said, that's great, you should say what you're solving, but think of it in the context of the investor, right? What does the investor care about? The investor wants to know, how quickly can I get my money back, right? How are we going to be in a place that's unique, innovative? Are we leading the bell curve? Are we in the bell curve? Are we following the bell curve? Using terms that the investors care about. And ultimately, she just kept saying, you need to know what the value is to them. And if you don't know what that is, then your pitch deck's going to most likely be off. Have you guys encountered anything like that, whether it's in a pitch or in a media kit, like as I mentioned in podcasting, or in any other proposal where
it's marketing 101. I mean, looking at to the example of a sponsorship deck, I could give you numbers all day long. I could show, it's again, marketing 101. Are you selling the benefits or the value? Because the value or the benefits to me is like the sausage. That's how the sausage is made type of deal, like you were referring to. Nobody cares about that. What does the sausage taste like? Why do they want the sausage? I don't give a crap. But it's like that same type of thing with the sponsorship deck. You've got to know your customer. I could pitch you all day long of, let me bounce this sponsorship deck over to you. and you're going to get, here's the audience, you're going to get A, B, and C. But if you don't really know what they need or what they want, that's useless. It's such a useless piece just to, pass it over. You've got to know, all right, what does this mean to you? Who is this audience? I know why this audience is important to you. I know what you're trying to look for, or let's talk about what you're trying to look for. It's that understanding the value and how to sell the value. And I think no matter what you're selling, whether it's a product via social media or trying to get money from an investor, you have to understand that.
Well, I think if you put yourselves in the shoes of an investor, and I've never pitched to an investor, straight up, but what are they looking for? Do they have a stable portfolio and they're looking for something kind of exciting to just like be a part of at the ground level? Or is it something more philanthropic? Like, are they looking to like change the world in some way and they're not really too concerned with them getting any money? Or are they straight up, give me my 20% return or get the hell out, right? Like, where are they on that spectrum, right? And connecting with them, right? Like, I think, I meet a lot of entrepreneurs, as I'm sure you people do, and everyone's got great ideas and whatever, but I'd say like, I don't know, 20% of them that I meet them and I'm just like, wow, I don't even know what this person does, but they're going to succeed because they're just like a force of nature, right? Doesn't matter age, doesn't matter sex, doesn't matter, where they're from or whatever. And I'm just like, I'm in. Like, I'm not. I think there's some holes in your finances or whatever, but I just like, I want to talk to you because you're going to do something amazing and I want in, right? Like, so back to this whole power thing, and like it all kind of pulls in, and if you can know what kind of notes to hit and just kind of show up like a champ, you're gonna do okay.
It's so funny you mentioned that, Adam, because somebody had come to me about a deal and we were pursuing it, going through and understanding the deal and all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a money. There's holes, but there's potential to make money, a lot of money. But the person did something extremely shady in another situation, not business related. And I truly believe in the Maya Angelou quote because I've been burned on the investing in the product versus the person before. And I just saw how they handled a different situation completely outside of the business transaction. And I'm like, you know what? It's like the Maya, when someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them. And it's so true. It's that, wow, I could see this potentially being a great business deal, but I saw how you dealt with a personal situation. I want nothing to do with the business situation because I know you'll crap on investors or crap on whoever you need to crap on to get what you need. And so it is so important to understand the product side, but also the person side, because it can go each way.
Yeah.
I've got this saying, people do business with people they, know, like, and trust. And I think that's so applicable, especially if you're looking for, investments. If you yourself are looking to be an angel investor, and I've heard this before, is investors look at the people that they're investing in, the people, not necessarily the company. If they know and trust that person is capable, then whatever business venture it is, they will know that there's going to be some level of trust in the execution and developing and growing it, right? So let me ask you guys this then. So she was talking about, doing your research, which I think is so critical. I think that's like a no-brainer. But how often do you think people really research in general? Like, take the time to Google, for example?
I don't know. That question, the fact that you asked that question scares me, right? But think of if you've ever interviewed somebody for a job, right? First question is what? What do you know about my company? And if they say, I don't know, I just like applied, then right away, this one goes in the garbage, right? Same with an investor. Like, well, what do you know about me or whatever? I'd be interested to know why you think that you're a good fit or why whatever, right? Like, think from their point of view. Why did you come to me? You could go to him. Why'd you go to me, right? I don't know. It seems like common sense, but in the midst of all the whirlwind and the tornado, maybe not.
Do you feel there's a lost art to a lot of the things that, like, we're all the same age-ish, that we've been taught? I mean, thank you card. I mean, just simple things like a thank you card. I can't tell you how many graduation gifts I've sent out without a thank you card. And I'm like, did you get it? Oh, good. You cashed the check. Okay. But it's like, how many of those things that are common knowledge to us, researching, really, I want to impress these people is almost lost. And I think it feels like it's one of those things where it's like, I kind of it's almost like an attitude difference. And I feel like I'm like, these kids these days, but it's like, well, I'm doing you a favor by giving you this, by presenting you with my, like, potentially giving you an opportunity to invest in my business. Why should I, why should I research you or working for your company or whatever? It's very interesting to me, because I feel there's been a lot of stuff that were just no brainers for us growing up that are almost lost art pieces.
And I wonder if, it's kind of like a mirror going both ways, right? Like a lot of stuff is happening virtual now, right? So you have to work harder and more deliberately to make a connection with somebody. Not say it can't be done, but you have to be very deliberate about it, right? Like my team is a virtual team. I have to be very conscious of what and how we do things to make sure that there's a connection. And an investor, same thing, right? If I'm intrigued by your business, maybe I want to know more. But first, I'm going to check you out. And maybe I did before. And, this is back to the whole social media thing. Like, what a tool, the podcast, your content, whatever. If I go on there and I'm like, wow, this person seems like very trustworthy. They're very honest. They're open. They're helping people. They're commenting on stuff. They're adding value. Seems like a great person. Or are they, trolling or getting in trouble or whatever, right? Like, so, there's an opportunity to put your authentic self out there, because now that people are looking, the battle doesn't necessarily start and end in the boardroom with the investor or in the call. Right?
You just piqued my interest on something, and we may or may not have lost you, Adam. You're kind of fading out here, but Erin, I was just thinking about this is, now that we've kind of like gone into this virtual world, right? And I wonder to some degree the authenticity that everyone keeps talking about and being your true self. I wonder how many people lose business because they are nervous being in front of a camera. Maybe they're just simply not comfortable being in front of the camera. Do you think there's a potential that if you have to master that in order to show more authenticity in who you are, as opposed to that mask that some folks might do in a Zoom call, for example?
I think there's many mediums, right? Like if you don't like video, write. If you don't like writing, podcast, talk. You've got 3 options. One of them is going to feel natural for you, right? So I don't think back to the idea of being authentic. If you don't feel like video is your medium, then find your voice, whatever that is for you, right?
I love that.
Well, and I always go with too, I think when it comes to investing in a company, and I think, yes, personality and understanding a force of a person is important, like Adam's saying, but I think that force can be very different things. Just because somebody's up there and super positive and super happy and super excited doesn't mean their business is valid, or doesn't mean whatever. And I always go to Elon Musk. Like Elon Musk, I think he's come out with it, but you read the guy is spectrum. Like he is 100% spectrum, right? Yeah. And so you can't tell me Elon Musk walks into a room and is like, hey, what's up, everybody? Come check out Tesla. Like he's going to be to the point. He's going to know his numbers inside and out. He's going to know his business inside and out, but he's going to go up there, and maybe he's not great on video, but you have somebody like that who's got, people are going to be giving him money all day long. So I think there is a difference to, if I'm trying to connect with you and sell you something, there's that difference versus, okay, I'm not great on camera, but I know my business inside and out. I know this is great. I know what I have here, and, take it or leave it kind of feeling too. So I don't think it matters so much if you're really amazing on camera versus you just, your business. Like I always go to Elon Musk. You cannot tell me the man is like, oh.
But then again, I guess what I was thinking of, like on the opposite side of it, not spectrum, opposite side, where it's someone that just, they put on their mask and it's a show, and they're acting. And that's what I was kind of thinking about is like, at what point does that mask come off, I guess. And again, you sometimes can't see those subtle nuances, like the little blink in the eye, and I'm just going to put out I'm gonna pimp out this show that I've been watching a lot lately on YouTube. It's called The Behavior Panel. And if you guys ever are interested in looking at body language, these guys walk through and they share videos of like politicians, of murderers, all these people, social interviews, and all that. And it got me interested in what we're doing today, right? We are all virtual. We're all looking at each other, and having to learn body language in a 2 dimension versus 3D is totally different. And to me, it's like, in order to better connect with people, I have to look and see what you guys are saying in a 2 dimension. And I'm wondering if to some degree, if that's something we're just going to have to evolve to adapt, because who knows how long, you know, if this pandemic will ever end. Is this now considered the norm as opposed to an exception to the norm?
Well, and to your point, we're looking at each other, but we're not even looking at it. Like the eye contact thing is a huge piece, right? You can kind of feel like I can trust somebody, or you just feel more connected. So, I mean, I agree. I think we'll eventually, sorry, I thought I was about to cut. We'll eventually open back up, but I think we will have to get used to Zoom and just, it's opened up. It's been a great thing and a bad thing. We've all been zoomed out, but I think it has opened up potential to connect to people we probably never would have connected to. And I think it's just going to be part of everyday life from now on.
And this idea of, being authentic, right? I think there is a false idea that to be a salesperson pitching to an investor, you got to be this like extroverted kind of like, that it's more of like this wooing kind of, sweep them off their feet type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I got some advice, a couple of years ago. I was lamenting to a friend who's a coach, and I was like, I just, I'm not very good at sales. Like my business partner, Kaylin, is like much better at like that interacting, whatever. And she's like, well, don't try and be that. She's like, you're a thoughtful, like inquisitive guy. She's like, ask good questions. You're good at that. Just do that. And that just like changed the world for me. And like, I was like, that's who I am, right? People will respond to me because I'm just being who I am. I'm not trying to be like, hey, how's it go? Like, I'm not trying to be something I'm not. Right?
Yeah.
And you can show up to like be prepared,
Right.
And I love how Tissa talked about how she hated numbers, so she got a CFO, and that like changed her life, right? And she wished she had done it earlier. So do what you have to do, be prepared, have the things, learn, but do it in your voice and your way.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think there is an expectation. If you say, oh, I'm the founder of a company, right, that there's an expectation that you should be the end all be all spokesperson and know everything. And the reality of it is human brains probably are not wired that way, right? If you are given the wonderful like skill sets of one area, the odds are high you're probably lacking in other areas, right? Unless you're just superhuman. And we know that's unusual. It's a small, percent of the population that can be all of that all at once. So how often do you guys think, and we've all living it, that we make the mistake of thinking I have to be good at this to be considered credible, as opposed to saying, you know what, I'm not good at this. I've got a partner, or I've got someone that can help you answer that question. So do we fall into that trap at times, guys? Or have you guys fallen into that trap of putting on that front of saying, no, I've got this together?
I know I've always, I've put on the front. I've wanted to put on the front. I've wanted to be, maybe something. I don't know. I just feel like too, there's traits that I hate, the sense of, well, I agree with it and I don't agree with it. I think there are ways of saying, this is what I don't love numbers. I hate numbers. I'd rather not deal with numbers. If I don't have to deal with numbers, I'd rather not deal with that. Right. But there's also times where it's like, I have to deal with the numbers and I have to own this and take this, where I think there's just a line. I hate to say, you're not good at this. Don't do it. You can't learn it. Peace out. It's like leadership. Are you a born leader, or can you learn to be a great leader? It's both sides of the coin for me. So I agree with it to some extent. Like if I can pass that off and not deal with it, there are some things that are great, but I also don't agree with saying, well, it's like Adam, well, you're not good at sales, so therefore you shouldn't sell. No, you can just find a different way to sell. Maybe you're not like the golf course guy, right? Like hanging and just shooting them with people, but you're selling in a different way. So instead of just flattening that, you're finding a different approach. So I think it goes both ways. I really do.
I think this is where great partnerships have been amazing. Like you guys are partners in business for a reason, right? You probably found that you complemented each other very nicely. And, my business partner, Caitlin, and I, that has been the foundation of kind of how we've built Enta and how we're, surviving through, all the things that we've been through in the last 2 years, right? Because we don't have the same strengths, and we put energy and kind of time into understanding what are her strengths, what are my strengths, and like, oh yeah, right. For example, Caitlin is very much like the visionary, and I'm like, get it done, execute, right? So that works, and it's great. So I think this idea of having to do something alone is a falsehood, because there is a pressure. I know I definitely felt it when I started on my entrepreneurial journey. I was like, oh my God, I need this, and the other. I need to know about this. I'm my IT. Yeah. I need to understand leadership. Where's Simon Sinek's book? Like, oh my God, and then you kind of start to get a little bit more mature. And now I'm pretty confident in what I'm good at and what I hate doing. And you kind of look for those partnerships. So I don't know, that would be kind of my thought on that. Like if you're a terrible pitcher and you hate pitching to investors, partner with someone that kind of likes that, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I've seen that in like pitch contests. And it's like, why would you put this person as your pitch spokesperson? Like your other individual may not have the quote CEO title, but maybe they're the better person to especially if you're looking for funding to grab some level of attention. So speaking of grabbing attention, and our time is running out, Adam, it's such a pleasure to have you. How can folks get a hold of you and Enta Solutions?
Pretty easy. You can find us on pretty much any social media channel. If you search Enta Solutions or entasolutions.org, you can see us there, and you can find me on LinkedIn. Shoot me a message. We love collaborating. We love helping people. We give away lots of cool stuff for free. So reach out. Love to hear from you if anybody wants to chat.
Awesome. And Erin, thoughts on Glow?
Yeah, all of this is part of the Business Acceleration 2.0 series with Glow. So every Thursday they go live at 10 a.m. Central. So make sure you join. I know if you follow them over on YouTube or Facebook, you can catch this replay. I'm not exactly sure how long, but we are all, so if you're in Calgary, connect with Adam. If you're in the Dallas area, connect with either Syya or myself. We'd love to have you join as a premium member and join us for the other events that are live and in person.
And speaking of events that are live and in person, we are working on something here in Dallas. So stay tuned for that, guys. Again, we're kind of like feeling out how things are working out, but digitally every week we do have the Business Acceleration 2.0 series, and next week's speaker is Brian Schultz. The more you give, the more you get. So he's actually the founder of Studio Movie Grill. He's moved on to a new pursuit with Look. And so really interesting to see how he's grown a business, and then he's pivoted and he's launched another one, and he's a huge advocate for conscious capitalism. So again, it'll be a very interesting conversation with Brian Schultz. I unofficially titled it, The More You Give, the More You Get. And that's a philosophy that he lives by. So on that note, everyone, I want to say thank you so much. Stay safe. And any questions on Glow, go to withglo.com. And on that note, everyone, stay safe. We'll see you next week. See ya.
Bye, guys.